Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Dorsey Standish. She is a mechanical engineer, neuroscientist, and keynote speaker. I've heard of mechanical engineer and speaker since I had Val Grubb as a guest. And I've also heard of neuroscientist and speaker since I had Matt Johnston as a guest. But all three, well, this is the first. She's a CEO of Mastermind Meditate, bringing mindfulness and emotional intelligence to organizations worldwide. I'm really interested to learn more about her foray into speaking, how she came to her speaking topic, and how she markets herself. So let's get into it. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Dorsey.
Thanks so much, Neil. I'm happy to be here.
So I mentioned that you speak on mindfulness and emotional intelligence. How did you come to that speaking topic?
Not willingly. If you asked me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if I would meditate, let alone speak about it, I would have told you, heck no. I've always been a type A engineering skeptic. I'm sure your audience might relate to that. And so the practice of sitting still, slowing down, being in touch with my emotions was never something that was important to me until I had my own experience of burnout working as an engineer and program manager in the corporate world. And I had to take 2 months off of work to recover from the mental health crisis and burnout I was experiencing. It was during that time that I committed that if I was going to have to listen to what experts were telling me to do and take and do to feel stable again, I also wanted to learn to turn inwards and listen to my own voice, connect with myself, and take charge of my own mental health because I knew nobody else would. And so I approached the topic of mindfulness and emotional intelligence and resilience very much like an engineer. I did a ton of research, read stories, read research articles, and then educated myself. And most importantly, started a short practice of just 2 minutes of mindful meditation a day. That 2-minute commitment slowly started a brain health and wellness journey that's changed my life and ultimately led me to want to be able to share that journey with other people, especially other type A skeptics like myself.
All right. So now you have a speaking topic. What was your next step in becoming a speaker?
So I did kind of find my way to that passion of mindfulness and emotional intelligence, but quite honestly, Neil, it took me a really long time to monetize that passion and to be able to say and identify myself as a speaker. I'd say quite honestly, even though I left the corporate world in 2016, my intention was to start a corporate wellness company. And I didn't really identify myself as a speaker until probably the past 2 years, thanks to working with business coaches that helped to point me in that direction. So I knew that that's what I wanted to talk about and help people with, but it took me a lot of trial and error to realize that as I was talking about wellness, what really got people's attention was my background in engineering. They would ask me, just like you did, how did you get from an engineer to someone who's interested in mindfulness? And so identifying that my story and also my expertise was important to people led me to really niche down in terms of a speaking topic, to go back to school to get a master's in neuroscience, to train specifically in mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is the most evidence-based form of mindfulness training. And from there, be able to continue to niche down until really my topic around mindfulness for brain health was speaking directly to my story, my expertise, and the audience that I wanted to speak to. I knew I wanted to do this work, but when I left the corporate world in 2016, there wasn't a clear path of, oh, you want to speak or you want to do mindfulness, this is what you do. So it was a lot of trial and error, going from a 6-figure tech salary to making $25 an hour teaching yoga. It's not something that I would recommend. So I think that being able to start speaking and start practicing some of these skill sets, finding topics while being in the corporate world and having that stability is something that I would definitely recommend. Through that trial and error process, as I've gotten clear on, I call it my zone of genius, but for me, it's this sense of flow state and being in the moment and feeling like this is the work I'm meant to do when I'm speaking, and getting similarly the reactions from the audience of thank you so much for sharing your story. The science, the way that you offered that to me has given me further validation that this is what I'm meant to be doing. I also believe that life is my greatest teacher. So I'm a new mom. I am a business owner. I still have stress and mental health challenges in my life. So I'm always taking the things that happen to me in daily life and working those into the talks I give through storytelling, through relatable anecdotes, any way that I can connect with my audience.
For those who are thinking about becoming speakers, what do they need to have in place for them to actually be speakers?
I think that anybody can really call themselves a speaker. But in order to be doing it with a sense of integrity, I believe that at the end of the day, it's the most important thing that I can do as a speaker, anyone can do, is to live the work that they're talking about and be living the thing that they're sharing with people. So my experience is that when I listen to people talk about something they're passionate about and that they're living, it comes through. They don't need to do as much work to perfect a speech because they're naturally aligned with how they live, what they're passionate about. So in order to become a speaker, it's really about niching down into what do people ask me about the most? What's unique about my journey? What can I share with people that's important to me and could also be important to them? Who's my audience? And then from there, having that connection to the topic, the next most important thing is practice, practice, practice. So can I tell you something else? So I started off in the corporate world. I taught yoga classes, and I taught them for 3 years for free in this little dark conference room, Texas Instruments off on the first floor where nobody went. And every week I taught for the Women's Initiative, and I would sit in the corner before class and just hope and pray that nobody showed up, because I did not want to have to teach. I was so nervous. I was so scared. I felt like there was such a spotlight on me. When I talk to other people about public speaking, I hear the same thing. I'm too scared. I can't do that. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. To this day, I've been speaking for over 10 years. I still get nervous when I talk. It's not that those nerves go away. It's that I've learned to work with those sensations in a different way. I've learned to reframe them, to recognize them, and to see them as part of the speaking journey. And the fact that I'm nervous means that I care about making a difference and doing my best. So the only way to get through those nerves to the other side is to keep doing it again and again and again. To become a speaker, you have to speak. You have to know what you're talking about to live that, and then just practice speaking. And it might be, in my case, I taught and spoke for years for very little money or for free in order to get that experience and that practice and really hone my message and my presence with people.
How do you market yourself as a speaker?
I have definitely struggled a little bit with the business side of my passion for mindfulness and emotional intelligence. I think that that's been one of my biggest learning curves as a business owner, is to figure out how to market our services, how to market myself as a speaker. Some simple things have really helped. Things like creating some collateral, a speaker one sheet, a speaker reel, some of those pieces that help to share with decision makers. To be able to say, here's an example of my speaking or my topics, have been really helpful marketing tools. I also have recently started working with a team of speaker agents. And so they have put me in touch with several speakers bureaus, which I'm now listed on. And they are an arm of my marketing department, if you will, going out and approaching different people about opportunities and pitching me to speak. So that's very helpful. That being said, the biggest marketing tool that I have in my tool belt is always referrals. So if I can do a good job on one speaking engagement, that's what I always say, is like the best way to get more clients is to do a great job with the ones you have, because happy clients share your message with other people, and referrals continue to be the biggest source of business today. Is people who leave a company, go to a new company, want to bring me in. People who are in the audience, all meeting planners, want to bring me to their conference or event. So those type of warm connections, warm referrals, and building relationships continues to be the number one way that I market myself and grow my speaking business.
All right. So now you have a speaking topic. You have a way to go about getting speaking engagements. You have your collateral. How do you go about talking about pricing your services?
I think I mentioned already that, leaving a tech salary for teaching yoga was very humbling, to say the least. And I think that pricing and understanding my own value has been also always a challenge in doing this work, because as I shared earlier, I didn't really think, okay, I'm leaving corporate to do speaking. I thought of all these other things I was doing. But since I've been promoting myself as a speaker, I was starting around the, $500 type lunch and learn range for several years as a speaker. Once I started working with a speaking coach and a business coach, they were able to help me look at pricing my services more in the $5,000 to $7,500 range. And it takes work to get there, right? I don't go from 500 to 5,000 overnight, but it's a combination of inner work to own the value I'm bringing, to continue to grow myself, my expertise, and get better and better and really provide that value for people. And then match that internal alignment with how I share my pricing with other people and how I communicate the value that I offer. Some
Yeah.
things oh, go ahead. Sorry, Neil.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Some things that we do differently is, again, I'm really big into relationships. And so when I think about doing a speaking engagement, I don't see it as I'm getting paid for this hour. I think about it as they have this problem or this idea or opening that I'm coming in to solve or to help with. And so whenever I do a speaking engagement, there's always an alignment meeting beforehand to discuss their biggest goals and how we can measure the outcome of the event. There's obviously the actual offering, for which I'm there a little early. I stay a little late to build those relationships. And then I also always offer the client a debrief meeting to present on any metrics, any comments. If we did a stress poll, for example, the stress reduction, other feedback we got, and to hear from them what more they'd like to see going forward in the future. So I do my best to not trade time for money and not sell an hour of myself. What I'm selling is my expertise, the relationship with me, and having a partner for your event that will help you get the goals you want and then look ahead to how you can continue to build on that momentum and success going forward.
That's smart. With the speaking that you do, Dorsey, what's your speaker model look like? Is it keynote speaking that you're doing mostly, and if not, what other services do you provide?
So my company Mastermind is a corporate wellness firm. So we do everything from weekly meditations, monthly mindfulness seminars for clients, to quarterly speaking engagements, to lunch and learns, to keynotes, to leadership trainings. I have to admit that I have such a passion for this work that I still wake up some days and feel like I'm just like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, because I want to help people. I love this work and I'm always iterating, just like a good engineer, I would like to think, tinkering a little bit and seeing how I can best make a difference. So I'm not a traditional speaker where you can hire me for these, top line services. I also have a team of other mindfulness and emotional intelligence facilitators that work with me, that say we're being brought into a law firm and one of them's a lawyer. I might actually pitch them to offer the guidance. Or if someone wants to know about nutrition, that's not my area of expertise, but one of the people on my team is an author and speaker around nutrition for brain health. And so I would partner with her and bring her in. We do a lot of lunch and learns, but what we found in the optional kind of monthly or weekly trainings, but what we found is that to really make a difference with the work that we're doing, it's important to have as broad of an audience as possible with as much of a commitment to attendance. So being brought in as a keynote speaker for a company-wide event, or being able to bring a resilience training to the leadership team, is going to have much bigger impact, because people are required to be there, and people who may not normally attend a mental health seminar, forced to be there, resonate with the story, with a scientific fact that I share, and go, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I want to be part of this movement at my company. What more can we do? So we have lots of different models and tiers, but our favorite way to come into a company is to start with a keynote or broad training that we can then continue the momentum with optional seminars and regular practice opportunities for people.
All right, that makes perfect sense. Having the gateway to get into organizations, and then having the other services that can, I suppose, amplify what we talked about in that gateway service. With the facilitators that work with you, how does that work? Are these people who are employees of your company? Are they independent contractors? How does that model work?
They're independent contractors. I have a couple people that work for me part-time to support my business. And then I have a team of independent contractors that have various specialties such as executive coaching, or they're former pediatricians, or they're nutrition authors, different sort of secret weapons, if you will. And I bring them in to teach different classes or speak on different topics depending on what the client wants.
All right, that makes sense for sure. With I've asked other people who have become speakers, the issue, well, not necessarily an issue, but working with a speaker program. There are a lot of things that I think people don't understand or don't know when they think about becoming a speaker. So they may enroll in a speaker program to get that type of information. When it comes to those types of programs, what do you think people should look out for to make sure that their expectations are met by the speaker program?
Yeah, that's a great question, Neil. I have not, the speaking work I've done has been primarily one-on-one coaching based, and that's my preferred style of learning. So that's the type of training that I've invested in. And so I can't speak to a personal experience in a speaking or training program. I will say that I think knowing yourself and your learning style, and whether you're going to be committed to a program, what's that look like for you to show up at your best? What do you need to grow? At the end of the day, each of us has the onus of being the expert on ourselves. And if we really want to grow and do something like speaking that, you always talk about, it's your number one fear, right? And so if you really want to grow in something that's hard, it's up to you to figure out what's going to hold you accountable to doing that and to pushing yourself. Because I have to tell you, I mean, starting, over 10 years ago, when I'm in the corner, like, oh, please don't make me, don't make me talk, don't make me share. I still have those moments, whether it's going into a construction site where there's open conflict, or whether it's speaking to a lawyer group that's super skeptical and wants statistics right away in the first 30 seconds and credentials. Otherwise, they won't listen to what I say. I'm constantly challenged by my work. And so when I think about a program or a coach or any type of support for the work that I do, it needs to be somebody that supports me, that holds me accountable, and that helps me keep growing to show up at my best for the work that I want to do in the world.
Yeah. Something you said earlier, Dorsey, I didn't think to say it then, but I thought to say it now because of the importance of it. There are a lot of people who have that issue of charging for their services because they think, well, $7,500 for an hour keynote, that's a lot of dollars per minute or per hour. That's $7,500 an hour. But as you said, people aren't paying for the hour. They're paying for whatever insights you're able to give to help them solve a problem. And I suspect that if that problem is solved, then that amount's going to be way more than the $7,500 that you charge them for the keynote. So if I believe you said it was a business coach or that helps you, I guess, see that, well, smart business coach.
Yeah, for sure, Neil. I think that and you've probably heard the other people will say, how much did my education cost? How much did all my, and factoring that in, right? Because when people want to work with us, they're not just, as you said, paying for that hour, they're paying for the insights they get. And they're also paying for the years of experience, the, decades of learning we've done, the degrees we've gotten, all that work that we've done to show up at our best. And that's also helped me reframe the value that I'm providing. It's really easy to get as a speaker. I remember when I got paid, it was during COVID, and I got paid $250 for a 15-minute session. And I remember my sister saying, "Oh my gosh, you're making $1,000 an hour. You've made it." But any speaker knows I'm not going to give 15-minute sessions back to back to back to back to back all day, right? Because we give our all. We're present with people. It goes way beyond those 15 minutes, the preparation, the debrief, and everything. So I really think that speakers have to get out of the mentality of dollars per hour or time commitment and think about what's the value I'm providing. Get some testimonials, hear from your clients, the aha moments they've had, that kind of feedback, people sharing, "I cried during this session," or "I don't feel alone," whatever it is, like that is priceless. And to be able to know that for myself, share those stories with my potential clients, it's so cool to be able to change hearts and minds and lives and also help businesses and their bottom line. It's a really cool work to do, to know how many levels that a good speaker can be rewarding on.
You mentioned that you typically go into organizations with the keynote being the entryway and then offering other services afterwards. Is that something that you determine or you decide on before the keynote even happens, or do you give the keynote and then offer these other services after?
We have some good collateral that is a kind of an overview of all of our corporate wellness services that does include those keynotes and leadership trainings. What usually happens though, 9 times out of 10, is that clients are bringing in mental health or mental wellness services or topics for the first time, and they're feeling a little bit nervous about it. And so they're very hesitant to commit to, let's do a year of this, or let's do this 5-part program. What usually they want to happen, and I agree with this, is let's do one event, one keynote, one talk. Let's get feedback and use that feedback as momentum builder for continued engagement and partnership and exploring what's possible. So I kind of think about it like a foot in the door. And then from there, once that goes well, the door opens wider. We present different ways that we can partner and share and really make an impact. But people can be so skeptical until they see something in action, until they hear the feedback from their peers. So it's been really fun for me to let go of the focus on what does this look like for years down the line and just say, I want to do an awesome job on this first event. Once that goes well, we will figure out the best way to continue this momentum and support you and your team as best as possible.
With the corporations who bring you in to do the work that you do, Dorsey, what department typically is the one that brings you in?
It's varied. Either HR, human resources is a common team that we'll work with. Another one is employee resource groups, or ERGs. Typically they're called in corporations. Maybe the Pride group or the Women's Leadership group will be looking for a speaker for their main event for the year, and that might come through that. The other option that I think people underestimate is team leaders, or technical VPs, or people who have budget to support their teams, maybe teams of engineers. Maybe it's a team on a construction site that needs some team building or training, and it's not actually going to come from HR. It's going to come from that site leader or the overseer who says, oh yeah, I really want to invest in this for my team. They have the budget, they have the ability to make those decisions. And sometimes as technical speakers, the people that are going to resonate most with our message and what we bring are actually those technical leaders, not necessarily the folks in HR.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. With your decision to become a speaker and leave corporate America, for the people who are listening or watching this conversation, Dorsey, what should they have in place before they make the decision to leave their jobs to become speakers full time?
Yeah, I totally, Neil, jumped off the cliff without a parachute. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I want to do this. And literally had no other income, no plan in place, was just like, I'm done, and some savings to get me through. But it was really, really rough. And while it makes a great story now, I don't recommend that people do that, especially in this economy, in this climate. And in the day and age we work in, where with working from home and the focus on work-life balance, it's actually very possible to take charge of your own technical career in a way that you can have some bandwidth to continue growing as a speaker, honing your topic, getting speaking practice at work, for example. I always believe there's a way that we can take agency over our careers. And if we want to learn things and start getting training in them, if we want to do more speaking, how can I do that in my 9-to-5 job? How can I volunteer for that? How can I give more presentations? How can I volunteer for an ERG, for the initiative I'm involved in, to give a free talk on what I want to share ultimately with other companies? So I would say definitely have a signature talk in place before you leave, and use your current audience, whether that's your work colleagues, whether that's an organization you belong to, whether that's your family and friends who want to cheer you on. Use your audiences to hone into at least one talk and one main message that you want to share. I would also say have some proof that you can get paid to do this work. So ideally, if your contract with your current company allows it, do some experiences of going into other companies or organizations, maybe after hours, and getting paid for the work that you want to do. have a great social circle of other peers who have made this transition or in the process of doing it, so that you can call them and complain and cry and commiserate about how hard it is to go out and do our own thing. And they can help pick you up and cheer you on as you make that transition. But it's really a bit, again, about being the expert on yourself and knowing how much balance you can find in your current role, how much you can do while you're there. And then when you're ready to take that leap, have as much social support, financial support, and expertise infrastructure in place in terms of what you want to share before you take that leap.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation, Dorsey. Thank you so much for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
Please go to mastermindmeditate.com to check out some of our speaking and corporate wellness work, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Dorsey Standish. That's probably the platform I'm most active on social media. I find that that's the best place for speaking leads, for authentic professional connections. I've been having a lot of fun on that platform lately, and I'd love to connect with each of you there.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Dorsey.